and I'm hoping that I'm spent $4 well spent. Hi, welcome to the Christy Grace Scarlet Pen YouTube channel. I'm so happy to see you here on this video. I am an author, a reader, a booktuber. I do all of the creativity and I love being creative and supporting other creatives. Today I'm doing something that I saw in another few booktubers videos. They did what they called an MnM TBR game. I changed it a little bit for myself, but I will link their videos below if you wanted to check out the way that they do theirs. But I thought that it would be really fun to do my TBR that way as a game for October. So hopefully I will post soon a wrap up of, I kind of melded my August and September TBR into one. I was very busy editing my book, which comes out in February. So I had less time to read and I had quite a tight deadline, which was interesting. But so now I have a bit more time and I can read a few more books. So I'm really excited to get this TBR or to be read list for October. If you like this video and some of the other writing adventures or updates that I have, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so you get notified whenever I release a new video. Okay, so the way that this normally works is I have this board here which I made out of a canvas that I haven't painted on yet. I didn't have time or the capability to go out and buy something because I'm still in lockdown in Victoria. But I've got these colours up the top here. I bought a cheap version of peanut M&Ms for this game. Every color here I pull out 2, and so I link up the 2 different colors that I get, and that is the book that has been selected for my TBR. The difference that I have done compared to some of the other videos I've seen is that the actual tags here that I'm going to pick up are books instead of categories. So there is everything from the fantasy books that I've bought recently, crime books, fiction, and then there's also some non-fiction in there. Recently read a non-fiction and it was really fun. And so there's also books from classics I should have read but haven't, and my hit or miss books from secondhand store. I'm hoping for $4 well spent for those books. And so there's a bit of a mix of everything on this pile today. It's totally random, not even gonna look in here. I'm nervous because normally I get to pick my own what I feel like reading in the moment. This is different, it's fun, it's exciting. It just means that it's not completely all up to me. All right, first is green and the next one brown. I used black because I didn't have a brown. So it's green and brown. The first book on my TBR is 3 by Ted Dekker. Okay, so I read this book when I was in school and I haven't read it since. I did buy the old cover. So this was a secondhand book that I got online because I wanted the old cover. The new ones are like it's a much darker cover, like a black, I think. But I remember I loved this book so much when I was in school. So basically it has a guy called Kevin Parson who faces off against a crazy person who calls himself Slater, and he says if you don't admit your sins to the world, then he's gonna mess with him and cause a lot of problems for him. And so it's really, from memory, it's really dramatic and it sounds really exciting anyway, without knowing some of the spoilers. I remember a few particularly big spoilers for this book, but I'm still really excited to reread that. It's been on my bookshelf for so long. I'm really excited to finally read this and get to know the story again because it was so good, and I love Ted Dekker. He's fantastic. Threw this together, so like that, things are going to fall off, and they're falling off. So hopefully I can get through this fast enough before everything completely falls. Okay, book 2 out of 6. Here we go. Let's pick it. Here we go. Okay, we're going with, I think that's red and orange. So book number 2 is The Broker. The Broker by John Grisham. This one is on my hit or miss, because I know usually with the hit or miss books, I go to a secondhand store and buy someone I've never heard of before, but that just sounds interesting. I know who John Grisham is. I have a couple of his books. I think there's a couple still on the board. But I have never read this particular book, The Broker. It sounded really, really interesting. So it has to do with the president, the CIA, conspiracies. I'm excited to read this one. I don't know too much about it because, like I said, I picked it up and just hoped for the best. But I'm really excited. So that is book number 2. Okay, here we go. Book 3. And we'll be halfway. So we've got orange and red. Oh, I'm so happy that I picked this one. Firefight by Brandon Sanderson. This book is the second in the Reckoners series. I just read Steelheart, and so I am really excited that I picked this one. I'm so happy because I loved the first book. It's about superpowers all of a sudden randomly got bestowed on normal people 10 years ago, and these people who are called epics with the powers then decided that they were better than everybody else and they deserve to rule. The Reckoners are the people who are trying to fight back. This is the second book in the series. I really enjoyed Steelheart. It was really, really good. So I'm excited that I get to read this next one. Okay, we are halfway. 3 left. Still holding up okay. It's not the most incredibly put together board. Like I said, last minute. So hopefully just stay there. 3 more books. That's all. Promise. All right, here we go. Let's do this. I have brown, so black and orange. Somehow I looked at the black and orange one tag right here and I just had a feeling it would be it. And it is. I was right. So Sherlock Holmes. I am a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. I love Sherlock. He's one of my favorite, if not my all-time favorite detectives ever. I try to watch everything that people create for Sherlock, with some exceptions. So I don't watch things like the Robert Downey Jr. movies. They are way too creepy. And I also refuse on principle to watch Holmes and Watson because that made them look more like their Inspector Clouseau, the Pink Panther, as opposed to the brilliant sociopathic genius that Sherlock really was. And so I refuse to watch that. But if you watch that and you like it, that's fine. I am a purist. I still have not read any Sherlock Holmes. I know about them all. I had the books for so many years. So many years I've had this book. Woo! I had it for a really, really long time and just have never read any of it. So I'm not reading this entire thing because there are a lot of Sherlock Holmes. This is only volume 1 as well. I know it's very small, but there are a lot of stories, so I am limiting myself to just one, and probably the first one in this particular novel series, which is A Study in Scarlet. So that will be what I will read for my Sherlock Holmes TBR for October. Incidentally, I also have another Sherlock Holmes book that's coming, which someone wrote. It is about Sherlock Holmes going back to biblical times and trying to solve some of the smaller mysteries in Bible stories and Bible times. So that sounded really interesting and really fun. Again, with this losing these things. I think that's it. I blue tacked it on, so it should stay. All right. Orange. Again. All of the oranges in this packet of M&Ms, I swear. And red. Orange and red. So, Frankston Murders. This is one of my non-fiction books that I had on my list. The Frankston Murders by Vicky. I can never say her last name. Not going to try this time because it'll probably be wrong. I have read a bunch of her other books, the Phillip Island Murders and Once a Copper. Those were really great. I love Vicky. She's fantastic. She's such a nice person as well. Met her at an author talk signing thing. And so this one is about murders that happened in Frankston, which actually is not that far from where I live. But it was back in, I think, the 80s? 90s. Dang, back in the 90s. It's nice to do nonfiction for a change. All right, final book on the list. I'm hoping this time I get a different color. Like I haven't had a green or a blue or even a yellow. Final book on the TBR, but there is an asterisk after that, and I'll let you know in a second what that is. Okay, blue! I finally have a blue! Blue and blue. Cancer Schmancer. Cancer Schmancer is one of the memoirs that Fran Drescher wrote. She was, if you don't know, the nanny from the 90s sitcom The Nanny, and she was fantastic. This is sort of her story, I believe, about cancer and some stuff that happened to her in her life. She overcame. Love Fran Drescher, she's amazing. And so I get to read, finally I've had her book. I bought it, I think, I bought it from a secondhand store as well. That is my official TBR pile for October. There's 6 of them here. I'm hoping to get through them all because I might be getting some editor's notes to be working on my manuscript, and so these books, hopefully I'll get through them. The asterisk I was talking about was, right now I am currently in the middle of another book, so that didn't make it on my TBR list. That is this one right here, and it is one of the Elite Guardians series, and I bought it on my birthday haul. There is a video where I went through and showed you everything I bought for my birthday for myself, and this was one of those. That's technically on the list. Oh my gosh, these things are falling off everywhere. The other asterisk that counts for me in my TBR for October is I am waiting on a book at the moment to be delivered from Amazon. If it does come in the next week or so, like they've said, that gets shot to the top of my list because it is the follow-up book, the second book to my favorite book I've ever read in my entire life, only just last month, which I'll talk about in my wrap-up video, which was AD 30 by Ted Dekker. And so this is the follow-up, AD 33. So it's basically her running into Jesus in the midst of her sort of Arabian exciting adventure story. That follow-up, AD 33, is jumping to the top of my list. If that comes, it is just, that's the one I'm reading. Thank you for watching my TBR for October, my special game that I borrowed from and adapted from some other booktubers. Links to their videos will be in the description below if you wanted to check out how they did it and what they ended up with as well, because I'm sure it will be different than mine. I don't know if I'll do this next time or if I'll just pick it myself. Excited for October reading! Thank you so much for watching this video. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that jazz. I'll link everything below. I even have SoundCloud and a Goodreads profile. I'll see you guys in the adventures.